It's November. 2021 has nearly passed us by, and I'm sat here wondering how that's possible when February was just 2 months ago. Time, a resource we rarely think about, often assuming it endless, when in reality, it's the most precious one we have. What does all this have to do with video games? Because there's nothing that makes me have an existential crisis, looking like this, like playing a boring video game to the end because I'm already in too deep. It's fascinating how quickly your patience wanes as you get older. As the list of things you need to do gets larger, the time available for what you want to do gets smaller and smaller. So when I say a game better not waste my time, I mean it. For real. And this is coming from a guy who already spends a questionably large amount of his time watching cartoons and playing video games. When you're a kid, you have nothing but time. Here, go collect 400 glowing orbs scattered around the map as you play. They're not required, unless you want the real ending, and to unlock some concept art you could have just Googled. I would do it too. The blast shards in Infamous, the feathers in Assassin's Creed 2, you name it, I was getting that platinum trophy. And your 12-year-old brain goes, "Oh, that's fun." Idiots. Today, the ways in which game companies perpetually waste your time has been steadily increasing, and how we as a species determine which games to actually sit down and play is fairly mind-boggling, such as graphics. For as long as I can remember, this was what everyone considered the starting point for determining which games were worth your time and which were untouchable garbage. Ask any person what they think of the newest game trailer, and the first thing you'll hear is, "Oh wow, the graphics look amazing." And don't get me wrong, I love a beautiful game. Red Dead Redemption 2, Uncharted 4, Last of Us, Tomb Raider, Horizon. These games are stunning to look at and are the literal face of gaming today. And it makes sense. It's like the cover of a book or the poster of a movie. It's the first thing people see, and it's what determines how they will spend their money. So naturally, developers must devote a good amount of time to it. However, the idea that pretty graphics equals good game is a fallacy, shown no more directly than how playing 10 minutes of this will be more fun than 10 minutes of this every single time. But really, this is just a symptom of a much larger problem in modern game design. You see, in our strive for larger, more complex, more realistic video games, we as a species forgot that real life is very boring most of the time. Now we have to deal with stupid time sinks disguised as features, when the developer could have taken the time used for those mechanics on making the game not suck. You have games out here trying to make me care about 30, 40, 50 hours of content, endless cutscene after endless cutscene with realistic animation that looks like shit. Meanwhile, here you go, play as a freaking red square. Now I'm bawling my eyes out and the game is amazing. There are specific games like Gran Turismo and Microsoft Flight Simulator, where realism is at the center of the game's design. Not only is it a feature, it's the entire point. This is different. I have no problem with a game where you walk into it expecting to try and see how hard it is to fly a real-life airplane. Pretty easy, it turns out. But when your game design is to instead say, slay a dragon, I don't want to have to worry about how much my armor weighs. Sorry, gonna have to leave this here. Just a little too heavy. Over-encumbrance, limited ammo, limited stamina. These types of management systems are intended to force the player to make difficult choices and act accordingly. And if implemented properly, it can be a lot of fun when a sense of tension rises inside you as you prepare to face a boss with only half a magazine or one health potion. But let's be honest, 99% of the time, what these do is force the player to waste time going all the way back to Whiterun so they can dump their items in a cupboard in Breeze Home to just continue playing the game, and you can't even fast travel at that point either. As a counterexample, take a look at Zelda, the de facto way to make a video game. Link's over here carrying 50 trillion pounds of items like he's f***ing Norman Reedus, and the game plays effortlessly. Virtually every single entry in the Zelda franchise, it's like butter. And when they do choose to implement some type of realism, like stamina or using the environment to kill enemies, it is done in such a way that it encourages creativity and exploration. Now imagine a Zelda game where you have to go to the Hylian bank and swap items anytime you want to carry more than 3. Oh, you want your bow and your hookshot? Who do you think you are, Sylvester Stallone? That right there is how you ruin a perfect game. Which leads me to my next point. For some reason, alongside sprawling, empty open worlds filled with dumb fetch quests, AAA studios decided the other thing that every new video game needs is some kind of crafting system for all the useless junk you pick up along the way. Any novelty in this kind of game design died a long time ago, and instead it results in having to spend time figuring out which items are worth your time to make and which are useless. Because that's the thing, you give me 40 crafting options, but only about 3 of them do anything worth a damn. And unless you look it up on the internet, you have no idea which is which until you are multiple hours into the game, and you've wasted much of that with trial and error. And then, even when you do figure it out, you end up grinding enemies for their drops. Oh boy, don't even get me started. Grinding. The reason I haven't played a turn-based JRPG that isn't Pokemon from start to finish since before I was able to drive. I can count the number of games that does this type of combat and progression system well on my fingers. Games that consider a well-paced progression system to be kill this blob 10,000 more times to be powerful enough to kill the wizard is not good game design. When I stare up at my clock and wonder if I even had fun in the 4 hours of my life I just wasted, you have quintessentially failed as a game designer. And no, making the game easier is not the solution. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it's easy, but there are innovative ways to minimize grinding and still have a challenging experience with good pacing in this genre. But then, the ultimate hellscape appears at the horizon. The designer responds to these very reasonable complaints. A solution, she says. Waste time no more, my player. What is the state of the world when spending extra money to not have to play through the entirety of a game you just spent 60 to 70 bucks on has become normalized and accepted? What is more valuable to me, my money or my time? Which I have already stated is beyond precious. The answer is to not play these soulless, empty excuses for games. There are so many amazing games that exist. Spending 90 plus hours on Assassin's Creed Valhalla is not only a crime against humanity, it's a crime against yourself. Sure, they aren't new, but I promise you going back and playing classic games you have yet to experience will be worth so much more at the end of the day. You might be saying, Silence, how can I trust you when you have platinum trophies in these games but have never played through Chrono Trigger? Because, like I said, I'm very, very stupid. Don't be me. Ultimately, the choices made by game studios today, the push for realism and options for the player, a reliance on microtransactions, and endless side quests, does not work. This illusion of freedom is not for the player's benefit, but rather to disguise lazy game design. There's no need for a developer to make a conscious effort with their progression system when they can just make a rough blueprint and then tell the player, okay, now you figure it out. I say, if you're going to make me manage a resource like it's my job, at least make it fun, man. However, all that being said, I will forever remain an optimist about the future of this industry. The list of incredible experiences that have been produced over the years is nothing short of amazing, and so I try my best to focus on the positive strides we have made in the 50 years since the dawn of the medium. I watch a trailer like this, and instantly I am filled with hope and excitement. I mean, the graphics look amazing.